Hey, we are welcoming Jonathan Kim, who is one of the founders and the ECD over at Rare Volume. Um, they do absolutely beautiful, stunning work. I don't want to take up any more time away from Jonathan. I will hand it over to you. Welcome, welcome. I will turn off my video and you are on.
All right, everyone see my screen? Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Colin. Thanks everyone for being here. I'd love to share a bit about my personal story before I get into the work, of course, which I can get into, but a lot of the bigger questions, wrestling with purpose, calling, and that messy space in between. So to begin a quick story, in the early 2000s, I somehow fumbled my way into art school. I had no idea what I was doing, and honestly, it was a miracle that I even got accepted. Throughout high school, while my friends were grinding away, studying for their SATs and applying to colleges, I was definitely not. I spent more time sketching in my textbooks than reading them. I skipped much of junior year and was busy designing flyers for clubs and raves just so I could gain free entry and maybe score a beer or two. And when it finally hit me that my peers were working hard and sacrificing their time towards a greater future, I had my first real wake-up call. And in that moment of desperation, I turned to art school. Since I was a kid, I was always drawn to the arts, music, dance, design. And when the one school that I applied to accepted me, I went all in. But even then, I was totally green without real direction and calling. And I remember one day after lunch wandering into the student lounge, this beat up little space with an old sofa, a few of those ugly green iMac G3s, and a beat up LCD TV in the corner. And on that screen was playing this.
So one, two, three, take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I say you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. Four, five, six, come on and get your kicks. Now you don't need the money when you look like that, do you, honey?
I'm sure many of you remember watching this ad for the first time. I didn't know what I was witnessing, but I was in awe. The silhouetted compositions, the colors, the music, the choreography of it all. It was the first time I had seen visual design do this. And what I was witnessing was formative for me as a young creative, this adjacent possible, the new world of design that paired visual art with the latest in animation technology to unlock new possibilities for creative expression. And I think many would agree that this ad and this campaign in many ways represented a larger moment in the MoGraph industry, a renaissance of the discipline thanks to tools like After Effects. And I was hooked. I graduated into the world of motion design at a very exciting time. The industry was exploding in the mid 2000s. The TV and film worlds were thriving. Studios were being fed large, healthy budgets for broadcast packages, title sequences, commercials, everything from CG sneaker ads to cell animated music videos to elegant type-driven brand spots. And for me, as a young creative, it was a playground. I bounced around from studio to studio, getting to sit under wings of people I considered giants, PJ Richardson, Chris Do, many more. Honestly, it didn't even feel like a job. Every day was an opportunity to push my craft of design further, and all of it was scaffolded by technology. Tools like After Effects were foundational, of course, and then came Cinema 4D, which pushed us into 3D, innovative software enabling new ways to push design forward. But in the late 2000s, the ad world began to shift. Tech was on the rise, and designers and engineers were getting pulled into its vortex. There was this invisible tension forming between these two worlds. The split wasn't just about industry, it was about values. In tech, design is hyper functional, it solves practical problems, it scales to serve the masses. And even if the work isn't as creatively bleeding edge and inspiring as, let's say, film and advertising, it's making a noticeable dent in our world. But as much as I respected what my peers in tech were building, I knew that that path wasn't for me. The craft of design, the inspiring, expressive side of it all is where I come alive. But I did start to wonder, do I really want to spend the rest of my life designing broadcast packages and commercials? As a designer, will this work be fulfilling in my 40s, in my 50s, and into my 60s? And so this question really hit me like a familiar wave, that same discomfort I felt back in high school as I saw my peers mapping out their entire future and I was so aimless. So the question became, is there in fact another way? Is there a path where I can still push the craft of design, but toward work that is less fleeting and with more utility? And I sat in that tension for several months. One morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a former colleague, now a creative director at a leading design firm in South Korea. He said, "Hey, we're designing the South Korean pavilion for the upcoming World Expo in Shanghai. Can you come help us develop all the exhibits and the overall placemaking experience?" I was so confused. What could I, a mere visual motion designer, possibly offer a World Expo halfway around the world? But in my season of seeking, I said yes. And for those unfamiliar, the World Expo is a massive, storied global event. Every 4 or 5 years, countries from around the world gather to share ideas, culture, and innovations that continue to shape our future. It was exciting times in Seoul. I got to partner with architects, historians, technologists. I became part of a team tasked with creating a holistic visitor experience for the pavilion. Together, we designed interactive installations, immersive films, digital signage, and more. And it was more than pre-rendered pieces of media. These were living systems enveloping an entire space, and I was helping how they looked and told their stories. This opened up another part of my mind. I had spent years in the world of advertising, refining how to make something as beautiful as possible. But now I was leveraging those skills to create experiences that were interactive, alive, and responsive. The adjacent possible is a concept I keep coming back to. It refers to the possibilities that are just one step beyond the present. Those innovations that don't come from massive leaps, but from building on what already exists. And I think one of the best ways to create a culture that fosters this is through the collision of different forms of expertise, people coming together from different disciplines to pursue a shared goal. So around this time, in the early 2000s, I met my friend and now business partner, Andrew Bell. We met through a mutual friend at church, just small talk at first, but we quickly realized we were asking some of the same questions with regards to vocation and the future of our industry. Andrew is an engineer. He cut his teeth in the world of high-end visual effects, working as a technical director, building tools for artists behind the scenes of Hollywood productions. And like me, he sensed that there was something more out there, that the combination of great design and creative coding could open up new opportunities for innovation outside the walls of advertising and film. He began building towards this. He created Cinder, an open source C++ framework designed to give developers the ability to craft high performance, visually rich, interactive experiences. Together, we began to envision a design practice. We didn't have a business plan, just the idea that if we created a studio where designers and engineers could collaborate on truly equal footing, something new and exciting could emerge. And that became the foundation of our volume. In those early years, we were doing a lot of listening, countless conversations with executives, architects, institutions, teams within larger tech companies. And over time, certain types of work began to find us. Projects aimed at real-world utility, but with the need to be presented in inspiring ways. Beauty with function. We began to build data exhibits for museums, automated signage systems for campuses that run around the clock without human intervention, real-time dashboards. These projects began to give us hope towards our theory. They gave us room to explore that adjacent possible through design and engineering, where form and function don't have to be at odds, but together something greater than its sum of parts. I'd like to go deeper into a few of our favorite projects. For those somewhat familiar with RV, you'll know we do a lot of work with interactive installations, generative exhibits, and digital signage. And much of that tends to fall under these two buckets. In today's data-rich environment, organizations collect vast amounts of information. I think that's no surprise to any of us. The challenge, however, isn't just collecting data, but turning it into insights and experiences that can speak to audiences in true, memorable, and relevant ways. At Rare Volume, we marry design and engineering to bring data to life in ways that are generative, interactive, beautiful, and often real time. In short, we say we love telling stories with data. We built a data instrument for the city of Barcelona. It's housed within the Torre Gloria's tower. It pairs real-time data with visual storytelling. People are very familiar with the view from the top of the building, but how do we show people a view of Barcelona that goes beyond what the naked eye can see? This invisible data that is as much a part of the city as the beautiful structures, mountains, and the people. So we took this challenge and built a permanent data instrument with several modes. First, a real-time wind gauge. Through it, users get a live look into Barcelona wind conditions, air quality, and other weather trends. The cloth that you see there anchors this visualization as a beautiful yet functioning visual gauge, as it's reflecting the speed and direction of the wind directly outside the building. In addition, proximity sensors detect users and present a live UI panel showcasing deeper wind and air quality data in 3 different languages. This marriage of aesthetic and utility makes this something anyone can enjoy and learn from, and it's exactly the type of balance we love to design at Rare Volume. Next, we have Sky. It's updated constantly with live data. Sky gives viewers a pinpoint accurate mapping of space activity above Barcelona at that exact moment. It shows star positions, constellations, live satellites moving across the Barcelona sky. We designed this really cool lens UI that allows viewers to click into areas of the visualization and learn more about specific constellations, traveling satellites, its countries of origin, and more. What made it extra fun, yeah, it's funny, but there was no single source of data to build this tool, as you can imagine. And so major props to our dev team, who did an extraordinary job building upon several disparate data sets to build this story, this data story. C presents the relationship between the city of Barcelona and the Mediterranean Sea. It juxtaposes land and sea data, and through it, viewers understand not just the similarities and differences, but the conversations happening between these two neighboring environments through data, which is very interesting. Some of the data presented, temperature, wind conditions, CO2 levels, and the latest import-export data each day by land versus sea. Lastly, we have soundscapes. It's visualizing unique topologies across both urban and natural environments through sound. It maps various layers of sound, including biological, natural, synthetic, so people can understand the balance or the bias of some of these across the different topologies. I always like mentioning this. AudioViz has a special place at RV. Some of you may recognize this. It's the iTunes visualizer. Our technical director, Andrew Bell, and our head of R&D, Robert Hodgins, started their collaboration, gosh, almost 18 years ago now, developing the iTunes Viz for Apple. And fun fact, this is still in MacBooks today. So the next time you open Apple Music, play your favorite track and just give it a Command T, and you could see it in all its glory. It's obviously lost a bit of its luster, but we think it's kind of cool that it's still there. And in many ways, for Andrew and Robert, this project planted the seed of what would later become Rare Volume. Our goal as a company has always been to build work that promotes craft with utility. So we tend to focus our R&D efforts on ideas that align with this vision, and Earthquake is one such project. Robert began this project, gosh, more than 7 years ago now, and we go back to it whenever we can. It taps into real-time earthquake data from around the world, showcased on an interactive globe, as you can see here. It's being designed at the moment to integrate with live news, social feeds, and even showcase relevant infographics. It's still in very early stages, but we have high hopes for this type of project, as we can see it benefiting various sectors across news, education, museums, disaster relief, and more. Well, for me, as much as this earthquake tool can be used for deeper research, I think we can and should leverage it to educate and tell stories in fresh, engaging ways, to tell stories that anyone from a young child to a data scientist can understand, appreciate, and utilize. It's a quick study that Robert built as we were testing different narrative modes for this tool. Some of our initial earthquake studies got the attention of CBRE, a global real estate firm, and they asked if we could somehow leverage their data in interesting ways. So we created for them this real-time sales visualizer. It's housed within various offices. It's a daily look into sales data across the world. We actually paired this with our content automation software, which I can talk about next, that pushes out new renders each day, week, month, whenever they want, automatically without human intervention. So a tool or function like this, as you can imagine, for companies are powerful solutions, not just for branding and communications, but for sales and marketing teams. Next, for modern orgs, it's not just about reaching audiences with content, it's about consistently delivering fresh, relevant material around the clock. Our content automation solutions allow clients to keep their content fresh without the need for manual iteration. So what does that look like? We create bespoke design libraries and packages for our clients, branded to them. And with our render on-demand software, we can deliver customized content anytime, anywhere, whether it's a large campus or a global network of offices. The Shed is one of New York's newest performing arts centers. In a city known for the arts, the Shed wanted every aspect of the visitor experience to be modern and inspired. However, budget constraints limited their ability to invest as much as they had hoped for in digital signage and wayfinding. We developed an automated signage platform that organizes and presents marketing, wayfinding, and event information in a beautiful and also automated way. First, we designed a suite of branded wayfinding and marketing templates that supports brand messaging, real-time notifications, show alerts, and more. Our software composites these templates, automatically populating them with the latest info and presents content across all screens 24/7 at the right place at the right time. We did this by pulling from the Shed's scheduling data that they already keep for their website, their .com, and we use it to power our on-site scheduling logic. So the data is already there. So we're taking it, using it, and then pushing content out at the right place, right time. Yeah, it's like designing a broadcast package once and having software generate variations of that template over time. This approach lets us as a studio focus on the creative work that we love and let software handle that repetitive task of iteration and asset generation, all the while helping clients, especially operations teams, save time and money through content automation. Right across from the Shed is Warner Brothers HQ. We designed a comprehensive media experience for the building alongside our partners at ESI. Our ask was simple but not easy. As a leading media company, Warner Brothers wanted their space to be powered by their media, including command centers, data-driven installations, content automation, and more. It all begins with this expansive lobby experience. The challenge that Warner faced is how do they showcase their ever-growing library of content, which spans everything from cartoons to films to news in a way that feels unified and evergreen. So at the end of the day, all digital media is a unique combo of pixels and colors. So we designed this generative particle system that deconstructs and reconstructs content across the space. Visual assets emerge from the stream of pixels, gradually forming into imagery before dissolving back into particles. But more importantly, we made this platform fully automatic, powered by our render on-demand pipeline that Andrew and his team built. So imagine clients at any time of day can drop in any new media asset, trailers, clips, a bio, a headshot via a simple web portal, input relevant information, messaging, and within minutes have beautifully rendered content on any screen throughout the space as if it were custom high-end animations created by a team of artists. We also built two powerful data tools for the space. What you see here is Universe. It's an interactive particle system that showcases Warner Brothers and all of its subsidiaries. It taps into live social media feeds to reveal the latest activity around Warner Brothers and its companies. It's a spatial experience. It's using LiDAR cameras to allow users to cycle through various sites and posts through motion over this beautifully skinned UI panel that you see here. Next data tool is Hotlines. This one is quite the design sandwich. It's a wall of generative text showcasing full scripts of movies and episodes that we actually pull from closed caption data that every piece of content has already for closed caption. Users can walk up to and interact with this real-time particle system of script. A motion-triggered UI panel allows users to look up different movies and shows and then showcase it. In addition, we wrote software that combs all of X every few minutes, and it finds people quoting lines from that piece of content to show the cultural relevance of a show or an episode. We really enjoy building these types of data command centers and have done so for clients including Google and AT&T. And as you can imagine, such experiences serve museums very well as a way of showcasing expansive catalogs of content and archives in a compelling way. Lastly, we designed this 11-story generative data sculpture that can be viewed from various points across Manhattan. The sculpture consists of 300,000 individual LED pixels in concentric rings and has displayed over it full films and episodes interpreted as data art. We also built a fully functional remote, as you can see there. It allows staff members and employees to control the media and the styling of the generative art throughout the day. And in addition to performing arts centers and corporate HQs, we're currently helping push content automation in a number of other spaces and environments, including universities, airports, museums, and live event spaces. We see a lot of opportunity here. We're helping clients communicate with audiences in more dynamic and inspiring ways without needing to rely on complex workflows and constant manual updates from production teams. As I close, I just want to end with, as many of you know, running a creative business is not easy. And what continues to drive myself and the team is what we started with, this belief that the adjacent possible is always expanding, especially when design and engineering are allowed to meet, build, and evolve together. And for me, as I'm sure with many of you, I cringe a little at the word innovation. It's a term that's been overused and stretched very thin over the last few decades. But for our team, we don't set out each day trying to chase innovation in design and technology as some giant leap. Instead, we focus on this adjacent possible, the idea that if we combine our craft, our expertise, and our passion towards a shared goal, inventive solutions will naturally emerge. And every so often, I take a step back from the daily grind and reflect on the work that our team, many of whom are represented here on the call actually, has been able to release into the world with a name towards moving the needle even just a little towards something fresh and new. For me, it's really humbling and inspiring, and it motivates me. So yeah, thank you all. Thank you to Josh and the Future Spaces team for allowing me to share what we're up to at Rare Volume. If any of this resonates with you, I'd love to connect and continue our conversation. Thank you all very much.
All right, Jonathan, that was awesome. Absolutely love the work. All right, so many of you know the drill. If you have any questions, I think the best way to do this is just like go on camera and we can have you ask yourself or just like throw it in the chat and if you want me to ask for you. So, all right, I will monitor this. Otherwise, I'll get to ask all my questions. So, oh, okay, Anna has a question. All right, Anna, do you want to ask yourself? Oh, wait. Oh, she wants me to ask. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm wondering in the creative concepting phase, at what stage, what data is actually available and what format it comes in, either before prerequisite or after core creative concept. For example, with the closed captions, how much time is spent cleaning, formatting, plumbing that data versus implementing the creative concept?
Yeah, that's a great question, Anna. And honestly, if I zoom out a little bit, the work that we do at Verve Volume is pretty bespoke and still very new, right? It's not like we're creating 30-second spots or a website that a client can come to and say, hey, I have this, A, B, and C. Here's everything packaged for you. The work that we do is very bespoke, very strategic. So a lot of our clients bring us in even pre-concept, where when they have a bigger product or marketing need, and they're like, hey, we want to translate this into a cool way. All that to say, sometimes the data, they don't even know where it's coming from. They have a big idea where it's like, hey, can we translate this? If we have so much data, I just know if we can find a creative way to do this and show it this way or that way, our audience would love it. So many times we're walking in as consultants to see, okay, what's the story that we want to tell with your data? Do you have that data? How easily can we access that data? So a lot of our work starts with a simple discovery phase to understand who are the players here, who are our partners. On the other side, though, sometimes we're working with a large hospitality company right now, and their internal team actually gave us a call with everything already packaged. Here's all of our locations. Here's all of the sectors of hotels versus motels. We want this, right? So all that to say, we've experienced the whole spectrum, and we enjoy doing it. And we joke about this. We're not an agency at Rare Volume, but all of us, especially the founding partners, have agency experience. So we have no problem entering into the mess, figuring things out together, and getting to a creative solution. Yeah.
All right, love it. All right. For if anybody else has a question, otherwise I'm going to jump in. So very obvious question, but like, what are you seeing as the adjacent possible right now? What's that? What's like super interesting to you right now? You know,
Yeah.
what are you guys tinkering with?
Oh man, don't stone me, but we've been having a
Sure.
lot of conversations around how to leverage AI. Okay. Okay. So I just said it. And a lot of it isn't, let's put it this way, a lot of it isn't to create visuals or systems that look great or compelling. But as this AI wave began to hit, we realized, and Andrew, he's on this call, he can speak to this a little bit more, but we're already implementing AI processes in our workflow as engineers, in our natural language processing, in ways we are sifting through data across all of X. So already we've seen the benefit of how AI can uplift and be a foundational tool that kind of speeds up the creative process, right? So again, still figuring it out, but we are having very early conversations about what does it look like to have people that are solely dedicated to seeing those possibilities that pair design and engineering with the help of AI at the ground level. You know, it's not the entire process. I don't think it should be, nor will it ever be, right? For us at least. But how do we implement it to kind of speed up certain processes? Yeah.
I love it. Love it. Rachel has a question.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been fascinating. I was hoping you could speak a little bit, an example or something about the thought process in terms of incorporating accessibility into your work. I mean that in terms of the more obvious things about disabilities, but also a general viewership.
Oh, yes, definitely. Thanks, Rachel, for that question. I think for the better, we've seen a greater uptake and attention towards accessibility, especially in the work that we do. Um, we're working with a great partner out of the UK and even design practices that specialize in accessibility, right? That become great partners for studios like ours to kind of keep us on check. And so what we've been able to do is partner with such companies. So two things. First, we're seeing a rise of companies that, again, focus just on that. They're not necessarily doing the creative work. We're strong believers that, hey, like even this idea of the adjacent possible, you bring your A game, I'll bring mine, you bring yours. Let's all come together and create something amazing. So many times our clients understand that, hey, like just because y'all are pushing the bleeding edge when it comes to design and technology, what if y'all paired up with this accessibility partner to kind of go in lockstep together? And what I've been so encouraged about is I can't speak for all accessibility companies, but the ones that we've been working with, especially recently for some larger museum projects, is they have a healthy respect for design. They have a healthy respect for experiences, for the inspiring. So to be able to walk together from the ground level, I think is also very important, has been good. Also, to add to that, coming from the world, the ad world, especially as like old school web design, that whole world, the sharpest designers are great UX thinkers. They understand the ins and outs of accessibility. And so what we've been really encouraged about is for our internal team, our interactive director, Alvin, superstar, he's really leading the charge on the internal side to walk alongside these external accessibility partners to make sure that he's being that good steward of both accessibility and creative inspiration. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we've been seeing it and walking towards accessibility.
I love it. Sudihi had a question. I'm sorry if I ruined that pronunciation. All right, okay, I'll ask. Is it possible to do content automation without proprietary tools? Any resources or pointers you can share on exploring this further?
Yeah, I'm going to put Andrew on the spot just because I see his window. Well, how would you answer that, Andrew?
Hello. Um, that's a good question. I mean, here in like kind of these early days, I don't know that there's a lot. I don't think you could do it without some code. I think the simplest version of it is like After Effects can be scripted enough to where if you can kind of limit what you're trying to do creatively to the After Effects pipeline, I think you can do sort of a command line render on After Effects and get something that's pretty compelling and doesn't require more than some kind of basic JavaScript and similar. Some of what we're doing is fancier than that and is either sort of on-demand hardware renders or even on-demand like Redshift renders or similar. But it can definitely be done, I think, with kind of just pairing After Effects or even like the web stack can be sort of command line rendered as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, while we have Andrew, good to see you. Um, I want to know a little bit about the tools you guys are using. Because I mean, we actually used Cinder like a ton back in the day. Are you guys still supporting Cinder? What are like the tools you guys are most interested in right now? What are you working with?
Yeah, I mean, on a creative side, we use sort of the tools you'd expect with a special emphasis on Houdini, which I think we really like Houdini as a sort of technical prototyping tool from a design perspective. So it can be challenging to build I mean, you basically can't build something interactive with Houdini, but it's a really nice way to get through iterations of what a design system would do rather than, the alternative is that we kind of mock up a set of data in Cinema 4D or similar, and then we hope that's indicative of a lot of the data. But with if we can build out a design system in Houdini, then we can sort of blast it with data sets and look at 1,000 outputs and feel like we've got a good sort of aesthetic solution, even if that ultimately needs to be rewritten in C++. For us, we still would generally use C++ and Cinder. But if we can get away with the web stack, if there's kind of if the creative doesn't call for more than that, we'll use it. And it's certainly quite capable on its own, increasingly so. So it's a pretty good variety, even though we have a kind of a special relationship with Cinder, and work with people. We work with people we also compete with who are also using Cinder, which I think sort of speaks well of our industry that there's that kind of collaboration even amongst competitors. And open source kind of allows that. But we're not, even though we do have that relationship with Cinder, we're not sort of singular in using it.
Very cool. Very cool. And actually, I'll jump over to another question. Like, what does your team look like? I mean, like, what does your volume look like overall, and like, what does the project team look like?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Currently, we're a small but mighty team of 10 internally. And as you can imagine, we kind of accordion up and down depending on not just the volume of projects, but the stages of a project, right? So we might have several projects in-house, but these are multi-year projects and the first year is all concepting and strategy. And then as we jump into production, we get to kind of scale up. A lot of the benefit that we've seen, obviously our internal team, full-time staffers are a very special group of just wild folk that have this really weird cocktail of backgrounds and experiences in systems design, but also visual and motion design, engineering, front end, back end, a little bit of all that. But what we really enjoy is because we have this myriad experience, once we get into, let's say, the production phase, Andrew knows exactly who to call to as far as like his world of creative developers. And for me, what I always enjoy doing is going back into the world of motion design and visual effects and understanding, hey, like they all love and know how to do this very well. How about I pull them into this world and kind of expose them to this entire new kind of sphere of design that many people just don't know even exist. And what's crazy about that is that it benefits both sides, right? So a lot of the world of experience design is benefited from a lot of the visual intensity and the IQ of these visual designers. But like myself, for a lot of visual designers that have been swimming in that world of broadcast and production design, getting to take a step back and take a breather and jump into this whole new world in many ways is very exhilarating, exciting, and very fulfilling in many ways. And I love seeing that. And so we have these repeat contractors that continue to come back to Rare Volume every once in a while to do some awesome work with us. And then they go back to Buck or the Mill or anywhere else. So RIP the Mill, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, pour one out. Oh yeah. I mean, it was actually just, I mean, I think that like almost all agencies, like just like whether they're like 10 or like massive like Buck, like we're all extending our teams, we're all
Yep.
building out and making that stuff happen. I'm also very curious, you guys had mentioned a little bit about prototyping and kind of using Houdini for prototyping. Like do you guys have a typical process that you guys go through? Is it is it prototyping heavy? You keep it pretty rough and ready early? Like how do you guys approach your work?
Yeah, yeah. And maybe Andrew, you and I could share this answer, but we made a pretty unorthodox decision. Some might say unorthodox, others might say stupid decision pretty early on in our build up. And we're like, you know what? Robert, many of you know Robert Hodgin, the brilliant Robert Hodgin. He is amazing. The work that he creates also himself as an individual, but you can't contain that guy. He just, he does what he does, and that's what makes him mad. That's what makes him beautiful. And so we're like, what if we create this space just for Robert to run a full-time R&D discipline within the walls of Rare Volume, even outside paid client work? What does it look like for him to just play, explore, iterate, fail, mess up, try again? What ended up happening was a few things. First is our team was better for it. Much of our team members are looking over shoulders and seeing what Robert's doing every day and saying, I'm going to pull that here, pull that there. Also, we began to build this catalog of just stuff, design, engineering, that many ways, some of our most favorite clients, they come to us for these ideas because they know we have this vault of ideas that we're always pulling from. So to go back to that initial question, I know a lot of my peers in different companies, they have a very awesome set stage within every project where it's dedicated to R&D. But we've taken the opposite approach where there's always a process of R&D happening within the walls of Rare Volume. A lot of what Andrew and I would really just think a lot about in the early RV years was, internal culture and what we want RV to feel like. And a lot of times I go back to, again, being that student of the craft. How do we build a design studio where whether you are a designer, an engineer, a producer, you can start the day, get your butt kicked, and then by the end of it, be better for it, be a better designer, be a better engineer, even if just a little bit. What happens over a year, 3 years, 5 years? So to help that, we've kind of built this internal R&D discipline through Robert Hodgin from day one. It's still going strong. It hasn't always been easy, as you can imagine, in times of lean, but I think we've really benefited from it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it is yeah, I mean by the way, if no, if people are not familiar with Robert's work, I mean Robert's a giant. I mean he does amazing stuff. I mean all the way back to those Apple visualizations, like incredible stuff. Um so I want to, we sometimes have a lot of students kind of join here. If you were a student or you were coming out of like university or whatever, like how would you begin to enter this world? Have you had to sort of feel
So,
that question?
yeah, and I think what's been kind of tough is I talked to one of our designers who graduated from RIT. Great school, great history of just pushing out just brilliant design and technical talent. Um, and he said something pretty interesting where it's like you can tie, you know, I think it's called the new media department. And every 3 or 4 or 5 years, the attention shifts from, oh, like let's all try to get into the best agencies.
Yeah.
And when that falls out of favor, it's like, oh, let's all try to get to Facebook or Google. And once that falls out of favor. And so we, especially with these larger institutions, you can't help but kind of ride the wave of industry tides and shifts. And so I think that kind of makes it hard for young designers and engineers to um, a understand what did I fall in love with that made me enter into design school, this very expensive, rigorous design school. Is it to just work for company A or B or C? And I feel like even, especially now, it's important to ask those questions. And I'm saying this because it's a problem. I don't have the solution for it. And I think we have to do a better job of instilling in these young creatives vision to see outside the bounds of just like company A, B, and C. um, for me, as I talk to our team, we joke about this a lot. It's like, hey, like when did you first fall in love with design? And even with our most technical designers, they didn't fall in love with design to make the coolest UX workflow website, right? It was something a little more simpler and more pure and unique. So I think for me, if I were to do it again, and if I had not come across that Apple ad, I would have done my best to actually do my research, not kind of go the natural path that every other professor will kind of point me to, and try to kind of expand beyond that and do my research to see who's doing the coolest stuff, who's doing the most interesting work out there, and start there.
Nice. I love it. I love it. All right, I have a follow-up question, but I'm gonna let someone else ask a question. Dwayne had a question. Okay, Dwayne was saying, I'm a big fan of R&D. However, I'm curious how you shape the R&D explorations. Are they time box or is the sky the limit? It sounds like Robert might just be allowed to do his thing, but how about for the rest of the studio?
Yeah, no, really. And again, I don't want it to sound as compartmentalized as it may. A lot, earthquake is a great example. That's a quick study that he did after, I forget which earthquake it was, but it was about 7, 8 years ago. It was a pretty big one, but that just kind of got him curious. And then he found the live living data set that's still kind of active in real time. And he built a quick prototype and which showed a volume of activity in this region. And from there, everyone was like, oh man, like, can we help Robert with this? And so when it comes to downtime with client work, and even if it's a few hours a day, we would all kind of huddle around and say, let's try this. Let's try that. That Iceland example is a great example where he pushed out the original test, and Luca, one of our designers, kind of created that aesthetic and created that really beautiful test. And from there, that kind of snowballs, right? So a lot of times it's kind of that like push and pull of sometimes more people are involved, sometimes less. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually funny because it's like I've had this conversation a lot about R&D. I think people think about it something very tactically, like in a problem solving mode, but it's also like kind of also introduces just like freedom and joy and pleasure into a process, and like the same way like you can tell if you have like a fussy chef, that like there's no joy in the plate, or or you can tell like if a musician is stressed out in their set, like you
Mhm.
can kind of feel it, like you can feel. I think you can feel that joy, like you can feel a little bit in the joy in the craft.
Totally.
I think it's very obvious in your work.
I agree. And for a lot of the folks that are from kind of like the old world of motion, I see Jody, Miguel, a lot of people here that would understand this. Uh, back there was a time in motion design where it's like, hey, you have 10 hours in a day, push out 50 examples, right? It's like, don't think too hard about it. Just push, 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 run, 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 run. Most of it's going to fail, but there's going to be a signal there. And then let's figure that out. And many times for me as a young designer, that process, I know it sounds cliche, but that was just as fun as getting to the solution and doing those, 50 reps in 10 hours. I could go home and sleep comfortably, and say, wow, like
Yeah.
I'm better for it. So a lot of times it's creating space within client projects to just try, 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 try. And that could be a more, I guess, practical way of R&D within the confines of a client project. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it also like it makes for a better process, because like I feel sometimes we talk about like convergent versus like divergent thinking. It's like
Yeah.
it's very fun to do that sort of thing where you're blowing out ideas. You can't do it forever; you never get done. But like if you don't do it, there's no joy.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna ask a quick question. Like, so where are you? What are you interested in now? Like, what are you seeing that's inspiring you?
Yeah. I think the reason why we kind of tend to bucket a lot of our work into, data visualization, content automation is, again, in a wider view, we do think that a lot of that is becoming very relevant across all sectors of work that we're doing for clients, museums, corporations, even agencies and big tech. So I think finding new and exciting ways to kind of leverage those two buckets, I see application for all clients. So we're excited to dig deeper into that. Also, on the flip side, Robert's work is just exploding the past year, and it's just getting more and more exciting. And we've just been we're in this weird space where we kind of didn't do it too intentionally, but people see RV and they see kind of like the wild R&D Robert side of it, and then they see the more serious kind of museum data science and visualization side of it. And we actually think that's kind of cool because internally that's been feeding our work actually, right? So Robert's R&D work has been feeding our creative process and kind of vice versa, right? And so I think we're really excited to see where that leads in the next few months and years. We have some really exciting partners like even in the art world, they're like, hey, like what's happening over there? Let's see what we can leverage. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually it's really interesting. I'm curious about the art world. I mean, because there's like that convergence of art and tech is something we're seeing a lot of right now. Right? What?
Totally.
Yeah. What are you guys doing any like collaborations with artists or?
Um, a few smaller bites, and I think how do we say this? A lot of the bigger digital artists out there, I mean, they all know like Robert, and by Robert, like RV, and a lot of what Robert brings to the art world is a more scientific angle, and that's kind of who he is, where it's like, hey, this interests me in the world, and how do I kind of understand it through code, through Houdini, and what he creates is this weird and beautiful combination of the arts and the sciences, and so I think that area is really interesting, and so that's kind of what we're moving more towards, and we're starting to talk to people that are interested in that. And what's cool is this happens a lot for Robert, where it's like his interest kind of inspires others to kind of connect him with other people that might benefit from his work. So we're seeing a lot of that happen, which is cool. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I think we're almost at time here. Um, why don't we let Jonathan, like, is there anything that you sort of would want to like sign off to this community? Anything that the community can do for you or like you'd want them to follow up with?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, again, just full circle, right? We're adjacent possible. We're all creative here, and we're kind of coming at it from different spots, not just industry wise, but life and expertise. So I think the more we have forums like these, Josh, I think it's great. We love saying hello, talking to new people, other design studios, partners, agencies, companies. So please do drop us a line, rurvolume.com, Jonathan at rurvolume.com. Find me on LinkedIn. Would love to connect. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I mean, one, I want to thank you for doing the Future Spaces today, but like also like I think you guys, I also want to thank you for doing all the stuff that's open source, doing all the supporting Cinder. We've been definitely the benefits of all that. So, and I think also just like putting out like super inspiring work.
No, thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. Again, thank you so much, Jonathan, for joining us. I will hope to see you guys here again next week. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll have a great one. All right, see you. Bye.